Shalom, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from who do well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. Unto you I say Shalom. Coming to you back with another lesson through the Spirit. And I'm going to entitle this one, Once Diesel Runs Out, It's Over for the Food Supply. Once this oil reserves, this diesel, because what makes all these 18-wheelers, these trucks, the bloodline, the backbone of this country, of the U.S., but also all around the world, that allows all these different goods from fruits, produce, beef, chicken, also clothing, electronics, that pretty much allows the world to go around. You got the post office, you got FedEx, Amazon, so on and so forth, that deliver all these different goods to these people. And how is it possible? By the way of diesel. Because what kind of fuel do these 18-wheeler trucks, these semi-trucks use is diesel. And it's already at $5.30. But what's going to happen to the point where it's no longer profitable for these different businesses? We all know that the mom and pop shops, the owner operator, truck drivers are going to go down first. Then also all these different smaller companies, they're going to go out next. Then eventually all these major companies, these major logistic companies, are going to go down as well, because you could only keep the price high up for so long. And then eventually what's going to happen when that diesel runs out? These trucks are not going to be moving. And there's already a famine, a drought. All these different farmers crying because they're not growing crops. They're not getting any rain. Same thing with the fishers. They're not catching any fish because they're dying because of how polluted the water is. Then also these cattle, the cows, chickens, they're dying because they don't have any water. Who's ultimately the one that's sending all these different plagues that is allowing a famine to brew up? Is Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. But yeah, he may be using his sword, which is Esau Edom, to do a so-called man-made famine. But who's the one that's in control of the minds of these kings? Like it said in the book of Proverbs 21, is Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. He's the one that's putting it upon the spirit of Esau Edom to make these moves, because ultimately he's about to bring the pride of these people down, especially these Americans, these Babylonians that are so accustomed to eating every single day, never fasted a day in their life, just doing whatever the hell they want. But now Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is about to get the attention of these people in the world, the 2/3 of our people here in America, by the way of famine. Because right now, you got the warning going out, day in and day out, about World War III, Jacob's Trouble, the mass implementation of the mark of the beast, and ultimately the thermonuclear destruction of America. But is our people paying attention? The nation of Israel, no, because they got their bread and circus. But once that gets taken away, they're going to start behaving in a whole different way. So this is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 6, and verse 22. And it reads, "And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, and the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty." Because it's all going to take just a couple of days for these grocery stores, these pharmaceutical stores, and even the liquor stores. Those are the top 3 businesses that get rated during all these different movies, these post-apocalyptic movies, or all hell breaking loose scenarios. And then what's going to happen once those grocery stores get gutted out, when there's any food in there any longer, any canned goods, produce wiped out, meats wiped out, cereal boxes. It's going to lead to people going from house to house looking for food, because that's what it's going to come to. It's going to come to people putting each other to death for the lack of bread, for the lack of food. But ultimately, these are the times we're coming in because of the wickedness, the pride that is going around the world. Especially these Americans, they have that mindset that they're never going to be touched. They're never going to be judged. They're just going to continue to eat, drink, and marry. But no, Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai is about to bring this place down. It's the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 5. It says, "Behold, said the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai, I will bring plagues upon the world. The sword," which is Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed white man. And what he's gonna do, he's gonna come in with these UN troops, these Gestapo troops, which basically they're already here. That's why you got these ICE agents with their face covered. Who's really under those face coverings? It's all these small hat, tiny caps agents from the land of Israel, the Israelis, and also all these different foreign troops that have migrated over here during the time of Biden. For example, you had a guy that crossed the border, and they asked him, "Hey, who are you?" And then he told the reporter, "Oh, you're gonna know who I am." All these sleeper agents, they're about to put to death a lot of people here in America because of their pride, because of their arrogance. It says famine is brewing up, but why are people not panicking? Because they can still go to the grocery store, get them a pack of ramen noodles, some Kool-Aid packs, Capri Suns, Wonder Bread, the bologna, make them a bologna sandwich with that Kraft cheese. You know, the average diet of a American, cereal, nothing but sugar and processed food. Man, these people are through. They're right for the taking. And even these these fitness influencers that keep up with their diet, or a meal prep, this and that. Prideful as all hell, talking about grass-fed this, grass-fed that. And that day, they're not gonna have that. They're gonna starve to death. They're gonna have their ribs touching their cages because of their pride. All these bodybuilders that eat 10 times a day on 6,000 calories. Those women are gonna die of famine. It says death. Yeah, because what's gonna happen after sword and a famine? It's gonna be death. It's gonna be bodies laying everywhere. People starving to death. People getting put to death by the sword, by the gun, civil war, race war, martial law. It says, and destruction. Because what's gonna happen once all these cities, when there's no human maintaining them, when there's nobody cutting the grass, there's nobody throwing the trash, the bodies ain't getting buried, it's going to lead to pestilence. It's going to lead to all hell breaking loose. Jump down to verse 49, 2nd Ezra 15 and 49. It says, I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, because what's right around the corner? World War III, martial law, civil war, where all these men are going to get put to death. Even the mighty men that are in a gym benching 500 pounds, swole as hell, they're going to get put to death as well. And a lot of these men out here, they're about to receive that draft letter. And what is that going to lead to? Isaiah 4:1, because their bridegrooms are going to get put to death here in America and around the world, but also they're going to get sent to fight in the Third World War, where they're gonna fight in the Battle of Armageddon. It says poverty. What's happening? Mass layoffs, people getting replaced by AI, automation, all these jobs cutting hours, trying to save money because of inflation, because of the purchasing power of the dollar is dropping. So that's leading people to commit more crimes, to go into houses and break in, hit licks, rob cars, rob somebody at gunpoint, because there's all these jobs are laying people off. You got all these different food processing plants closing down. Tyson, Kellogg's, Pepsi. It says famine. That's what's brewing up. It's famine. Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai is putting it upon the spirit of Esau, Edom, to do this man-made famine. But really, it's the Lord that's in control. Just like in the time of Egypt. Yeah, 7 days or 7 years of plenty during the time of our ancient forefather Joseph. And then what did you have right after? 7 years of famine. But this this country, all they know is consume, consume, consume. It says sword and pestilence. Because what's going around right now? All these different foods are being contaminated by E. coli, salmonella. Got that explosive diarrhea virus. But really, is Yahweh Bashmal Shai plaguing the earth, plaguing these Americans? It says to waste thy houses with destruction and death. Because that's what it's going to take for people to finally lose it. When they haven't ate, man, these Americans, they lose it after they haven't ate in 2 hours, 3 hours. They're constantly having to eat. Majority of Americans are obese or overweight. They don't exercise. They don't eat right. They're not on the herbs. They're just taking all these pharmaceutical pills. Through as hell out here. They're right for the taking. So in that day, when they haven't ate in a day, 2 days, man, they're gonna lose their minds. They're gonna turn into a whole different person. They're really gonna show who they truly are. Like that commercial in the Snickers commercial. You're not you when you're hungry. Man, these Americans, these Babylonians, they've been accustomed, they've been fattened by Esau, Edom. They're gonna completely lose their minds. Going from house to house looking for bread, water, canned goods. It's the second Ezra chapter 16 and verse 19, and it says, behold, famine and plague, tribulation, and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. So all these things happening around the planet Earth is just the beginning of sorrows. How about Shemal Shai is sending all these scourges, tools, as a warning sign to our people, the nation of Israel, the so-called Negroes, Latino, and Native Americans. But are they paying attention? Are they seeking Yahweh Bashmal Shai? Majority of our people, the 2/3, no. They're still in the spirit of mirth, in the house of mirth, eating, drinking, giving into marriage, not giving a damn about prophecy. Worried about Love Island, worried about their job, worried about keeping their women happy. Even Israelites, they know that they're Israelite. They're not worried about famine. They're not worried about Jacob's trouble. They're worried about clicks, clout, fame, money. But it says, verse 20, for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. The earth is getting hit with heat waves, record temperatures. You got all these different signs in the heavens, but yet our people aren't paying attention. They don't give a damn. But what's going to take them for them to finally care is when their ribs are touching their back, when they haven't ate, they haven't drank water in days. It says, verse 21, behold, victuals, the basic necessities, food, water, bread, eggs. It says, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case. And even then shall evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. Because right now you got Nero, 47, Trump, telling everybody that we're winning the war in Iran. Everything's good. The Strait of Hormuz is open. Don't worry about it. Just go back to sleep, relax, turn on your Netflix and eat your goy slop, your slop bowl, your GMO foods. And that's what people did, especially our people, because Trump said, oh, we're in a time of peace and safety, ceasefire, so everything's good. Okay, you can still go to the drive-thru and get you a processed-ass burger at 3 in the morning. You can still go to Starbucks, get you a 100-gram sugar coffee. So people are like, oh man, it's not so bad. We still have our entertainment. We still have our processed ass junk food. So they think they chilling, but what's about to happen? Verse 22, for many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. Because you got preppers out here, these doomsday preppers, even some of our own people, that have been preparing for all hell to break loose, for famine. I've been stocking up on these canned goods. I got a water maker. I got my bunker. Okay, hide in that bunker. What is still coming to the land of America is thermal nuclear destruction. So even if you have a bunker, these doomsday preppers, southern preppers, Canadian preppers, they're just building a coffin and they're going to melt in it. So I'm going to get this last one. This is the book of Isaiah 65 and 13, because ultimately all these plagues, famine, the sword is reserved for the wicked individuals of our people, the 2/3 here in America, and wherever wicked Jake that's not part of the elect is scattered, and for these heathens, these so-called white people, these so-called East Indians, these so-called Chinese, Arabs, so on and so forth. But who are the ones that are going to eat that Yahweh Bashim Shai has already prepared provisions for? They had these bugged out ass doomsday preppers build all these bunkers for them. Ultimately, who did they really build them for? For the elect. It says Isaiah 65 and 13. It says, therefore thus saith the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Shai, behold, my servants shall eat. Who are the ones that are serving Yahweh Bashim Shai, that are doing the Lord's will? The members of the 144,000 of prophets that are prophesying, warning Israel, the sheep, the flock, the believers of Yahweh Shai, and then the 1/3 here in America in the numeral number that are scattered, the believers that believe in the testimony of Yahweh Bashim Shai, that are taking heed during this grace period, during this mercy period. Not when all hell has broken loose, not when grocery stores are already run dry. No, because the elect, they have faith. They have faith that these things are coming upon the planet Earth, but also they're showing that faith by their works, by doing the best to the ability, whatever lot Yahweh Bashim Shai gave them. It says, but ye shall be hungry. Who's going to be hungry? The 2/3. These heathens, they're going to starve to death because of their pride, because of their arrogance, that I can never be touched. I can just do whatever the hell I want. I'm never going to be held accountable. It says, my servants shall eat, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servants shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. That's what's about to come to the planet Earth, America, Babylon the Great, the proudest nation of all the earth. These proud ass women that are in the spirit of drinking and being thoughts, they're about to be humbled. All these going out, girls' night, oh man, that's about to be over. It says, verse 14, behold, my servants shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit. So they're going to be like, man, where the hell did this come from? Well, why did this famine come? Why did the diesel run out? Here it was brewing, I wouldn't even say behind the scenes, but it was brewing in front of everybody's faces with the Strait of Hormuz being closed, but yet nobody was paying attention. Who were the only ones who were paying attention and getting themselves right with the Lord? Well, Yahweh Bashim Shai is the elect, the remnant. Because why? They're measuring the times diligently, because Yahweh Bashim Shai gave them the eye salve, the Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, to see, okay, this is what's coming up on the planet Earth. But the Lord said, okay, if I endure to the end, if I serve him in truth and sincerity, that he's going to keep me. So the elect, the remnant, they have nothing to worry about, because the Lord has already made provisions before these 2/3 and these heathens, so-called Negroes, Latino, and Native Americans, and the Israelite foreigners that are the true Hebrew Israelites. They're about to be in for a rude awakening, because they're not expecting a famine to run out. They're not expecting one night to just wake up to no gas, no diesel, their job shut down, boom, power outages. That's what's coming down to the planet Earth for these wicked 2/3, these wicked ass heathens. But what's coming for the elect is deliverance, is a salvation. They're going to be kept in the time of famine. They're going to be fed. But that's pretty much the point. I pray that this was edifying to the elect. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Ruach HaKodesh. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who are learning this truth from who do well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. Unto you I say, Shalom.